Now we're going to write a program that will print a word a certain number of times. So in this one, we're going to have two inputs because we're just going to ask a question. Hey, how many times you usually have to call your dog, and what's your dog's name? And then we'll just print the dog's name that many times. Okay, so we're going to have an input, so we need a variable. And actually, I'll ask for the dog's name first. So I'll just call this name equals input, parentheses, quotation marks. What is your, whoops. And then I'll put a space after the question mark just so we've got a space between the sentence and whatever they answer. All right, now we're going to ask how often they have to call their dog. So this, I'm just going to use num for number. Now we're asking for an integer input. Parentheses, quotation marks. Do you Okay, so the user is going to input their dog's name and tell us how many times they usually have to call him or her. All right, now we're going to use a variable to keep track of the number of times that we have to call. Okay, so I'm going to define the variable, and I'll just call this t for the number of times. We'll start that equal to 0 because we haven't called the dog yet. And now we're going to use a while loop. So I'm going to say while the number of times that we call is less than the number of times that they input. We put the semicolon there so that it'll indent, so everything below it will be part of that while loop. So I'm going to say t equals t plus 1. Whoops, capitalize that. So now I just want to print, and here I'm going to use the variable name. So if we run it, what's our dog's name? We'll say our dog's name is Spot. How many times do we have to call him or her? We'll say 5 times. Whoops. The mistake I made here is I put my variable in quotation marks, so it just printed what I put in quotation marks. Let's run that again. What's your name's dog? We'll say Sue. We have to call Sue 6 times. And you can see we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And the reason we're using the less than instead of less than or equal to is because we started out with t equals 0. So you got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which actually ends up being 6 because 0 is one of those.